Hi everybody, it's Kathleen with Treesisterswellofcreativity, and this is Creative Interviews. And today we're here with Sara Vrugt. Hi, Sara.
Hi.
Before we get into our conversation, I'm gonna read you a little bit about Sara. So Sara is from The Hague. Oop, I got my cord tangled there. Sara is from The Hague in the Netherlands, and she designs with textile and thread, humor, and idealistic approach. Her embroidery and participatory projects touch on social themes with her work. She lets people take a fresh look at daily life. Within this major project that we're going to talk about, Sara Vrugt celebrates nature and its importance. In 2020, she will be embroidering a forest of 100 square meters, and she's inviting everyone to participate with her. The Verweven Foundation, I believe, is behind the 100,000 trees and a bunch of wire. She's putting this together for Treesisters to celebrate and to create a forest and grow trees, and she'll be able to tell you a lot more about that. Sara studied fashion design at the Royal Academy in The Hague. However, since her graduation way back in 2006, she's ignored the limitations of that discipline, and she's made a few collections, which she then presented in a fashion show or other fashion contexts, but it ends there. Her designs are located in the area between clothing, autonomous textile forms, and visual art, and serve rather to convey an idea than just to flatter the wearer. And also an interesting point is Sara hopes to set something in motion, not only in the minds of her spectators, but also in the visual arts by creating cross-border work with a social interface. It's important to have an open mind for its audience to view the world, its own neighbors, things that are normal, but that are not considered as such, not by loudly propagating a rigid opinion, but with a lot of effort, a little material, and a wink. So it's my pleasure to introduce Sara, and if you could just want to fill in the bits and pieces that I may have left out, and also letting us know how you found Treesisters and what draws you to create this amazing project in aid of Treesisters.
Well, thank you for this introduction. 2 years ago, I joined a Vipassana meditation course, a 10 days meditation course. And when I was in there, I reflected on the way we live, and I decided to start eating vegan because I thought that is a little thing that I can do. And I felt I need to spread this, because I think more people should be more aware of the way they're living and the things that they can actually do. Because with this climate crisis, we often feel so helpless. And I think there are so many things that we actually can do, although we cannot change like large systems by ourselves, but all together we might be able to.
Yeah.
So I thought, how can I invite others to join me? And in this search for finding a larger community to work together with, a friend of mine attended me to, or told me about Treesisters, and I was very enthusiastic directly, and I started to help funding the trees. And then after a while, I thought, how can I use the talents that I have and the skills that I have to help Treesisters more? Because I think your mission is so important that I want to use whatever I can to support this. And the art that I'm making has always been about social interaction and about things in society that I think should be considered again, or should be more, should be less black and white. So this was a great opportunity to start working for nature, because I think it's one of the most important things in our time that we should support. So I thought, what can I do? I can bring people together, as I've done in many large community art projects, and I can make designs that we can work on together in a way that everybody can either work in the way that they personally like, or just have like a little piece of an artwork that they can do in the way that I tell them, because some people love the first thing and some people love the second. So I thought, let's embroider a forest. And if we embroider a forest, we should make it large, because forests are overwhelming and only a large artwork will be like somewhere near a real forest. So let's make it 100 square meters. And at the same time, raise money, loads of money, to plant 100,000 trees, because I think that would be just great. And that's also because I have a son, he is 6 years old. And when he thinks of something like unbelievably big, he talks about 100,000. And it's about the biggest thing that he can imagine. And actually, for me, that's the same. So I thought, let's aim for 100,000. Wouldn't that be great?
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's so many things that you said, I'm sure resonate with all of the artists that are watching, and people, which I consider everyone has a creative ability that is waiting, you know, for purpose. And for me, it's this, you know, the energy of earth that is creative energy. You know, it's our creation energy. It's what's growing, it's what's budding and expanding all over the planet, but it's also part of us, you know, since we're part of her. And this is why I do what I do, because I love talking to people who have seeded an idea and then they just say, okay, I'm just going to step into it, because you sort of know it's already available for you. It's already in, you know, the atmosphere around you. And then bringing others together, the collaborative effort that you're doing, that's, you know, multiplies it, like we do at Tree Sisters. By bringing more Tree Sisters together, we're amplifying just what one person can do. Together, everything's possible, and, you know, even saving the earth. And I love what you said about 100,000 trees, and how, you know, I remember that with my daughters, you know, like, I love you a billion times, I love you a trillion times, you know, but we'd always start with 100,000, you know, I remember that. And it seemed so, you know, almost an impossibility, but yet nothing is impossible with creativity. And as long as, you know, obviously, you know, that you've been doing all these wonderful projects throughout your life, and taking the step outside of the box and saying, you know, what else is possible. So thank you for doing that, for saying yes, you know, really to your own possibilities, and to the need that the earth and the planet and all of us have to say yes to that. So what I'm going to do now is bring up some of your beautiful work and share my screen, if it all works right. The first project that you see here is so colorful. I had to show it, but these are one of the projects that you did in your community that shows your creativity, but also bringing people together for a purpose. So you can start explaining, and I'll just keep moving along the pictures.
All right. This was actually the first community project that I did. It was in 2009, and I won a prize for like a young creative person that has a good idea. And then when I won the first prize, I thought, oh my, I actually have to make this, because my plan was to organize a catwalk show throughout the city with the streets as a catwalk and its inhabitants as models, just everyday people as models, and the street painted red from one side of town to the other. And we were walking from a very rich part to quite a poor part with street names that are very similar. And the clothes that people are wearing were made by themselves in 7 workshops that we organized uh, with women from throughout the whole city, from different layers of society. And we made 300 outfits. And
Wow.
I made patterns of certain.
How long did that take?
I think it was seven workshops, so 7 Saturdays or something.
Yeah.
And but it, of course, it was all more work than we had thought. So some people took it home and finished it there, and it was so nice to feel that people are so committed once they're enthusiastic about a project like this. They become, some of them become so committed that you can, yeah, it generates a lot of energy. And then in summer 2009, we had this fashion show on one day, and we walked from one side of town to the other. And there was a brass band in front and like a traditional brass band in the back. So there was loads of music and fun, and we had some kind of catwalk training before, so they did little dances in between.
And tell me who this man is in your front.
That's my father. He's about in the front of the line, and he was very enthusiastic and proud, and that was great.
He looks like it. That's fantastic. Really fantastic. It's just amazing how many, every single one of them is different. And like, where did they get all the fabric? They just gathered some old things and.
No, I bought the fabrics, and I made some pattern designs in different shapes and sizes, but all would fit to each other. So I had like 5 tops and 5 skirts and 5 sleeves and 5 collars, and all would fit each other. So altogether, people could like choose their own fabric and choose their own pattern design, and then make an outfit with it. And you see what a diverse range of clothing can be made from just this area of patterns that I.
Incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible. It's I took fashion design. I studied fashion design as well. But what I get from what you're doing is that you're creating these new possibilities around fashion. And actually that's why I sort of walked away from it, because it was too staunch. It was too it was just about the quality, the more money that you could spend on the fabric, the better that your creations were, and all these things. It didn't really make sense to me at all. And I just love, the creativity that you're putting into the hands of the wearer, so that they can decide themselves. But you're giving them a few, things that are helpful to them, but they use them how they want to, right?
Yeah. Some of them were, when I came by during the workshops, some of them said like, well, I'm sorry, but I changed it a little bit to my own taste. And I was so happy that they were doing this. They were kind of like making excuses, but I only said like, that's great.
Right.
Yeah, take it and make it yours. But then what I did find was that the collection was becoming their collection and not mine anymore. And that was the aim of the project. But in the same time, I wanted to show my vision on different cultures living together in a city like The Hague, because we're quite a differentiated city. So the picture that you showed before shows a little collection that I made in my own studio based on different cultures. So you see pieces of a niqab, and you also see pieces of very traditional Dutch clothing. And all kinds of traditional clothing throughout the world was combined in this.
Yeah, I can actually see that. It seems like different countries are represented.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
I also wanted to make a wink to like seeing and not seeing, and watching and not watching, and covering and not covering. Because in Holland there's been loads of discussion about women wearing a niqab or hijab, and but if you look back in like 60 years in our culture, there were loads of women covering their head and covering more than just their hair as well. So I wanted to make like a connection between those two, and to make it more visible that it's not so different as you might think that it is. the
Yeah.
cultures that we're living together with.
And did you get good feedback about that after?
Actually, all the projects that I've been doing afterwards come from this project, because people saw this and then thought, oh, if we want to give somebody an assignment to work with a community, then maybe Sarah is the person that we need. So all the community projects that I did afterwards were actually always related to this project. So it was, and I didn't think that before I started it, I didn't think I want to be a community artist. I just wanted to make some fun with clothing and loads of people.
Yeah. But once we saw what you can do, right? Like they said, no, we need more of this, because there's a voice that was missing that you're bringing is what I'm seeing. Well, I'm going to move into. I just love it when I see your dad there. I'm going to move into talking about the 100,000 Trees project, though.
Yes.
And there you go.
Yes, after organizing the Red Line project that you just saw and lots of other projects, I decided to stop making clothes and focus on embroidering. So I did other embroidery projects before with the community, and now as I wanted to do something for the earth, I decided to embroider a forest. So what you see here is our logo, and it says 100,000 bomen en een bos van draad, which means 100,000 trees and a forest made of thread. And that's what we're doing. So the forest of thread will be made on fabric of 4 meters high and 25 meters wide. And I did this before in another project. So what you see here is fabric of the same size, hung in shape of a spiral, all embroidered in 3 months with about 300 people. I had an open workshop for 3 months in 2011, and that's where we made this. But the shape and size are the guidelines for the project that we're working on right now. So what we're going to make now is also going to be a spiral that you can enter once it's finished. And to make a little promotion video, I make this tiny forest in the woods in a spiral shape. And on the next picture, you will see what the actual work kind of will look like. This was a little maquette for the project that we're working on right now. But the trees that you see here look very black and dead. And this was made like a year and a half ago when I just started working on the project. But right now, I can show you more of the design.
And you can walk through all of, this is big enough. What is the height of it? And in feet, what is the height of it?
The height in meters is about 4. So in feet, I think that would be 12 or so.
12. Okay, very big. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
So this is the project that I did before, and it was called Now I Am Here. I worked on it for 3 months, and I had a studio where everybody could join and help me embroider the 100 square meters of fabric. And what we're doing right now is the same, but as the studio is empty right now, it's 5:30 in the afternoon here in The Hague and people have left. We show you these pictures so that you get an idea of how people are sitting and working together.
Yeah, I wanted to mention you're sitting in the studio right now because I love the studio behind you. It's so big and bright and colorful. But that's the actual studio that you'll be working in.
Yes.
And we'll show it again when we go to back to that screen.
Here you see people embroidering, and what you see is that I made a large design and I put lines on the fabric where every shape or field should be embroidered. But within every field, people could choose whatever stitch they wanted to use. So you see many different stitch types. But again, because I chose the colors of the thread and I bought all the yarns myself, there's still like a unity in the final work, although the handwriting of all the different people is there as well. This is the bottom side, the back side of the work with all the endings of the thread. And once it's hung, you see both sides because you walk inside. So you see quite a big difference between front and back. But I actually like that you see the back as well. Here you see a face that we're embroidering, and it's part of the project that we were doing back then because it was all about looking at each other and being watched. But that's a different theme from today's work. That's another piece, very densely embroidered, where you can see very nicely that some people use tiny, tiny stitches and take a lot of time, and others like to go very fast and make very large stitches, and both are fine.
Yeah, I love that. Just looking at, you know, and this will be what the tree trunks and the branches are going to be like as well.
Yeah.
It's like you said, each person's little identity.
Yeah, is visible in the end result. Another one. And by then it was quite calm. Here you see 5 people embroidering. But by now, the studio that we're working in right now with the embroidering in the forest, it's very, very busy. We have 16 chairs, and most parts of the day they're all full. It's very, very intense to get all the people a piece where they can work. And
how many people? How many people?
16 at a time.
Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing. And how many people altogether are working?
Well, so far, I think about 100 or so, but we've only been open for 2 weeks. So it will be loads. It will be loads and loads.
Yeah. And it's going to be more colorful,
yeah. If you turn back to the camera, then I can show you a sample of the work that we're doing right now. But maybe you have some more pictures that you want to show. No, there we go. Right behind me, you see the fabric that we're working on today on this project. And this is the top part. So you see branches of the tree and leaves that are being embroidered in between. But it's quite hard to see from where you are. And in the back, you see our little like cupboard with all the yarns and all the stuff that we offer, because I made socks for the project with trees from recycled materials here. Produced in The Hague that we're selling, and then a part of it is going to planting trees. But people can also just do a donation because we need to raise money for all those 100,000 trees, right? So we need loads of money being raised. And what you can also see there is a sample of the actual embroidery that we're going to make right here, but then in a small size. So what you see that there's some trees left open. They stay black so that you can actually look through them because the fabric is kind of transparent. And in between you see the trees that we make visible throughout using quite a heavy stitch. And between the trees we're using only a very simple stitch that goes just up and down, because for some people that's hard enough already. And we do this in the shape of leaves and birds. I hope you can see it. So that the trees and the trees and the space in between are built up out of leaves and birds. And if people donate enough for 100 real trees, we will embroider a bird especially for them. So like this little guy will be made for somebody that did a large donation.
Oh, that's a beautiful idea. It's absolutely stunning. Just so beautiful. And I love that you can look through it.
Yeah, because then once you're in it, in the spiral shape, it will be actually like you're walking in this like layered area with all kinds, with trees close by and further away, like in a real forest. And the roots of the trees will be made of, I'll show it quite closely, will be made of
the words.
Letters.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah. Because what we're doing, we're asking people to tell nature stories so they can tell about, you know, the first tree that they used to climb in, or about large experiences that they had in nature, or just very tiny things about maybe their city garden that they're keeping nicely. And those stories we're collecting. So every day you can come in the studio and you can tell your story to one of our writers, and they like make a condensed version of it. So they take the essence out of your story and write that down in about 60 words. And those words will be embroidered as the roots of the trees. So like the
Beautiful.
forest floor, you know, it's all a network.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
it is just, yeah, it's just keeps getting deeper and deeper for me the more that I see what
Hmm.
you're doing with it. And it's those roots, it's the story that we carry, it's everything. And
Yeah.
the fact that it's all done by hand and it's messages from a collective of women. I'd love to see more of your
And men as well.
socks.
We have some
Yeah.
men working with us as well.
Oh,
That's
yay,
very
Tree
nice.
Brothers.
Yes. Yes.
And I'd
Yeah.
love to see some of your socks. So when,
Yeah. I
when
can
we
show them
post
to you.
this, we'll put some of those up there. I think I saw them before, but we'll post them with this
That's
video as well.
yes.
And the other thing I want you to talk about is something you share with me. I don't know if you're still doing it, but after the exhibit is over, there's seeds in this
Yeah.
embroidery, right? So can you
Yeah.
talk about how the seeds will be planted later?
Yeah. Once the work is finished and it is hung in the shape of a spiral, it will be exhibited in different places in the Netherlands and maybe outside international. I don't know. We'll have to see. And once it's been shown for like a year or maybe 2 years, we're going to plant the work in nature. So we work with natural materials only, cotton and silk and wool and things like that. And in the hem of the work, so in the hem of this spiral shape, we're going to put seeds of plants and trees. And I'm going to work together with the Hortus Botanicus, which is like the tree garden in Leiden City at the university, so they know everything about it. And they're going to help me to find the right mix of seeds to put in the hem. So what I would like is that once the seeds are sprouting and the fabric will decay, the seeds are actually, or the plants are actually taking over the embroidered trees, and the fabric will come down, but the spiral shape will remain, and you can still enter it, but then you will walk through the real plants instead of the embroidered ones.
Yeah, that's just spectacular. I love that you're actually biomimicry, you're copying nature, you're including nature. The art is becoming nature. And
Mm.
what more can we do? I just yeah, this is fascinating and I can't wait to continue to watch what you're doing. And I love to keep posting more and more about what you're doing on your journey and
Yeah,
in the well and in the nest. And
please.
um thank you for what you're doing. I just really appreciate all of the creativity that you've brought to this. You have many skills and uh, also the a huge heart for the earth, and for you to bring those all together for this project for the trees is really touching. And
Thank you
so,
so much.
and if to close, if you just want to maybe say one thing or two that you would like to tell other creative people, all of us really,
Hmm.
who are creative beings, born creative beings, what would you say to encourage uh, others to just begin something that maybe they've thought of and
Hmm.
may not feel like they could do, or that might be too different or out there or whatever?
Hmm.
What would you say from someone who did a whole red parade down the middle of the street?
I would say just get started. I mean, you have to be kind of naive to start these kind of projects, because if you know upfront what how much work it's going to be, you'll never start. I mean, I did this red parade when I was 27 and I didn't know what I was starting, and once I was in the middle of it, I couldn't go back. But I learned so much from it, and I met so many nice people. And right now I'm working with people that I met back then, and they have become my colleagues now in helping me out with this project. So I think if you just get started and you speak from your heart to people, they will always like to help you and to join you, and that is what makes it worth all the effort for me, because I get so much back once I've started and all the people are joining. Because when
Yeah,
we're embroidering here with like 16 people at a time,
amazing. Yeah.
everybody has a story and tells me why they like to join and what nature means to them, etc. So, and
Mm.
also what I see happening here at the embroidery tables, some people are here because they feel lonely at home, Some people are here because they have just fled to the Netherlands and they need to learn the language. Some people are just coming by and think, what's this? And they sit next to someone else and they start flirting. And there's so many nice things happening. That just generates a lot of energy. So, yeah, the only thing I can say is just get started and follow your heart.
And follow your heart, and you'll learn along the way. You'll learn along the, like, and just keep trusting.
Ask for help. And ask for help if you can.
Yeah, ask for help, and to, you know, for you to have, you know, people like you who have been through it before and kind of, you know, learned a lot of the ropes. You know, it's good to look for that. It really is, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if you're a tree sister listening to this, you know, well, we can have like a little conversation in the nest about, you know, hey, I've got this big project, but what should I be looking out for, you know? And maybe, and Sara will have time in between to let you know what she, you know, what she's learned. And that would be great, Sara. I really appreciate you and everything you're doing, and what you're growing into. It's all possible now. So and let's stay in touch. Let's keep the conversation going.
We will.
And thank you.
And if people would like to stay up to date about the project, they can go to their website, because there's an English section as well.
Yeah,
and they can email me. Yeah, and then I can put them on the mailing list, because we always try to do the mailings in Dutch and English, so they can keep up to date if they like.
Yeah, of course.
Or
it can
contact
be part
me on
of
Facebook.
it. Or if they live nearby. I know there's a lot of people who live near you or close in the, you know, in that area. They can come by, and we will put that in the description. I'll put your website and
Amsterdam in spring. So we'll travel through the country with the embroidery studio.
Wonderful.
We'll be in Amsterdam in spring and in Leiden in summer.